Okay, so here's part two of my testimony. So I left off with using church as a getaway from all of the abuse and trauma that I was going through at home. Well, kind of to backtrack a little bit, when there was all those other teenagers and everything in the house, and my mom not really having time for me, I felt abandoned, neglected, and honestly, I felt unloved, unwanted. So, and one of the kids that was in there, he did witchcraft and voodoo. Well, one day he was doing it in front of me and another friend, and he started to cut himself in front of me. And I was like, "What are you doing?" And he said, "What's it look like? I'm cutting myself. It doesn't hurt." So I was like, okay. Well, at that time, it was me and my friend, and we went downstairs to go find a. He's kind of like my brother. It was my friend's boyfriend at the time, and told him what the kid was doing, and that caused a whole big fight and everything, but that's besides the point. But it still leads into what I'm about to say. A couple weeks, not even a couple weeks actually, it was probably a couple of days after he got kicked out, I felt alone, abandoned, and everything else. So I started isolating myself. Well, in that isolation, I started to cut myself.
Mm-hmm.
And cutting myself, that was an adrenaline rush at first,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't. It hurt. It hurt.
Yeah.
Especially after. When you think you can't feel the pain, no, you can feel the pain.
Mm-hmm.
You want. Oh, God. Okay. That really just dropped. You want the physical pain because you want the emotional pain
Mm-hmm.
to stop, if that makes any sense. Wow. Okay. Anyways, so I struggled with cutting myself. And then a few weeks later, after cutting myself for the first time, I tried to kill myself. I took a blind, the string of the blind, and wrapped it around my neck. And my face literally started turning purple until somebody noticed. And then they started hitting me to get me to unwrap it from my neck. And that just, from there, the person that was in the room with me, he told my mom, and then that put a whole strain on not only our relationship, but it put a strain on the relationship between me and my mom. And then she tried to get me help. What really ticked me off is she lied to me to get me to go to the therapy session. That I did not appreciate her lying to me, that I gave her the cold shoulder all the way back home. And I pretty much really stopped talking to my mom for a while. Even though
my mom did the same thing too to me. Mm-hmm.
Even though we lived in the same house, I did anything and everything to really
avoid?
Yeah. That's the word. Avoid my mom, which really sucked because I really needed my mom at that time, but I wasn't seeing her as helping me. What really set it off was her lying to me. Now I understand that it was her trying to help me, but the last 7 years of my mom being here, it really put a strain on our relationship. And
did you find in that time that you kind of leaned towards like more bad areas of your life, or did you lean more on like good stuff? Like, did things start to get better or worse?
Honestly, things started getting worse
before they got better, right?
They got worse. So not only was I feeling abandoned and everything by my mom, but the physical abuse, the mental abuse, it was still happening from my dad. And there were even a couple of points, or a point, where I was sexually abused.
Was that from family members?
I'm not gonna discuss that part of who it was, but there was sexual abuse, and that kind of, I didn't know that until later in life. But there was the sexual abuse, but the physical abuse, the mental abuse, all of that continued happening up until my mom passed away in 2011. As Emily said in her video, Emily and I, we lost our moms 11 days apart. I lost my mom August 31st, 2011. She lost her mom September 11th, right? Yeah, September 11th, 2011. So, Emily and I together, we have been through hell.
You've experienced a lot of things.
Yeah, we've experienced a lot of things. We've been through.
When would you say, though, that your relationship with God, like, improved? Like,
to be honest, it's
a work in progress.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is definitely a work in progress, but everything that has happened, and I continued to struggle with the suicidal thoughts, the cutting, isolation, and all of that up until last year. And since knowing one of my friends, he has really been a spiritual mentor, a best friend, and he has really helped me get through everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he really has brought me closer to God.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up in the psych hospital last year because I was to the point of wanting to kill myself, and I just about did. But thanks to some friends that honestly I don't even speak to anymore, they called the cops and sent them to my house. And honestly, at first I refused to go.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, no. Well, I didn't say no.
Yeah.
I did say no to going to the hospital. Pretty much, I feel like I was forced to go. So that kind of threw another monkey in the wrench in the whatever. But being in the psych hospital for 36 hours, the 36 hours that I was in there, it was the worst experience of my life, but
yeah,
the most impactful. That's kind of weird to say, but it was definitely eye-opening. It was an eye-opening experience being in the psych hospital. While I was in there, I started singing praise and worship songs.
Mm-hmm.
I started singing Promises by Maverick, I think it's Promises, by Maverick City Music. And I just started singing that over and over and over. And then my pastor came to get me out because I was being released and everything. And from there, I feel like my relationship with God, it was still rocky and everything. But after he came and got me, I got back on track, and then a few months later fell back off and really had some spiritual attacks happen. I mean, they were some major attacks. And I just kept fighting through it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew God was there.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to believe it at first. I felt like my actions for what I had done previously in, like, when I was younger, I felt like I was being punished. But yet, I was punishing myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh.
Whew. I was punishing myself. And I was looking at God as the one punishing me as well. I looked at God as a punisher and as an abuser. How I looked at my dad, my earthly father.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to fast forward to the end of last year. The end of last year, I started in a growth academy, and the slogan, I guess you could say, for the academy is let go, let's grow. let go of the trauma, the abuse, and everything that happened to you. Sit down and write out all the lies that you have believed, that were said to you, that you have believed, that you have spoken over yourself. Write them all down, and once you've written them down, read them out loud, and then rip it up and either burn it, drown it, whatever. But you have to get rid of it. But then you have to do more. You have to really focus on who God calls you, who you are in God.
And with that,
I know. I apologize that mine is so long, but there's just a lot. So with that, my relationship with God now is starting to get stronger. And again, I apologize.